It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and we're jumping into the summer movie season by looking at the movies of May 5th, 1995. Only 4 movies to look at today, so not as many as we've had the last couple of weeks, but some notable films here. Let's just go ahead and jump on into it, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, which is the romantic comedy French Kiss, starring Meg Ryan and Kevin Kline.
Nous rappelons à nos voyageurs que l'usage des appareils électroniques est interdit durant le décollage de l'appareil.
What was that? What did she say? That sounded serious.
The pilot says there's a crack in the engine, but not to worry, he'd take off anyway.
Kate's gone to Paris to get back the man of her dreams.
I'm gonna get him back, and I'm gonna make him love me, and we are gonna live happily ever after. Because I know I will triumph.
Now she's going along with her worst nightmare.
Oh my God, my bags are gone.
Les bagages de
Yeah.
madame ont été
You
volés
tell
dans
him,
votre
you tell him what's happening. What's
How
happening?
could you let this happen?
Hey, what is your problem? They're my bags.
But you could... What? I'm upset because it is my country and this is a scandal. Do you have a plan for when you see Charles?
Once he saw me, myself, moi, everything would change. The spell would be broken.
I swear I just saw Kate. How can I help you win back this ridiculous man if you act like a clown?
I know what your problem is. You have no staying power.
What do you mean?
You can't stick it out.
What are you talking about?
It's obvious.
It is?
You are afraid of commitment.
Commitment! Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you meant...
What? What did you think? What did you think I was talking about?
Nothing. It's okay.
Oh, this problem.
Not a problem.
Who's that?
It's my brother. Why are you chasing after him after what he's done to you?
Because I love him. And I'm afraid that if he doesn't come back, it'll hurt so much that I'll just shrivel up and I'll never be able to love anyone ever again.
You said that now, but after a time, you would forget, and then you can begin again.
From director Lawrence Kasdan comes an enchanting new romantic comedy. Meg Ryan,
My ass is twitching. You people make my ass twitch.
Kevin Kline,
What about you, the old bull back in business?
Ole.
French Kiss,
Oh, la 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 la. Maintenant, je comprends tout. What did you just say?
I don't know.
You know, this should have been one of those movies that should have been just like While You Were Sleeping, a kind of formulaic story, but it works very well because of the chemistry between his two leads, but, no, they had to make this movie much more complicated than it needed to be, because what they're not showing you in this trailer is that Kevin Kline, aside from doing a really terrible French accent, which we'll get into in a little bit, but he's a crook in this movie, and he's using Meg Ryan on the side to smuggle a stolen diamond necklace, so that's another subplot that the trailer doesn't bother to tell you about, and they just make this so confusing, and it's just so frustrating to watch, because you see the potential there. This is a great director that they have doing this, Lawrence Kasdan, who we talked about his work before. He's directed such movies as Grand Canyon, The Big Chill, Body Heat, Silverado, Accidental Tourist, I Love You to Death, Wyatt Earp was his last film he did, yeah, this movie should have been pretty easy to do. You've got two very likable leads here, Meg Ryan and Kevin Kline. They would usually work together in a comedy like this, but I'm sorry, Kevin Kline. I know you're doing the best that you can, but you have a terrible French accent in this movie. And the strange part is they were going to get Gerard Depardieu to do this, to play his role in the movie, but he turned it down, so they went to Kevin Kline, which you couldn't get anybody else that could speak French besides him. I mean, Kevin Kline will usually put his all into anything he does in these movies, but that French accent got old really, really quickly. I mean, that was a bad French accent, and it also would help if Meg Ryan was a little more likable, but no, Meg Ryan's going to France to do nothing but get her fiance back, who wants nothing to do with him. The fiance played by Timothy Hutton, and it just looks ridiculous. It's just a ridiculously convoluted comedy that should have been so simple to really put together. Like, you don't buy into any of these characters whatsoever, and the story is just so mediocre. The comedy is not really all that great. The dialogue is so generic, and we looked at a movie like similar to this. It was very formulaic, While You Were Sleeping, but that movie did that a whole lot better, and you had two likable leads and a story that, while it was very cliched, riddled, and very formulaic, they actually had a hook to it that actually made it work. This does not. Like, it feels like there's just too many different things going on in here, and you really can't tell who you're supposed to root for here. Do you want Meg Ryan to get back with Timothy Hutton, or do you want to be with Kevin Kline, or, like, what do you want us to do with this movie? And it's a really, really bad... It's really not that good of a movie. I won't say it's horrible, but it's definitely a really bad film. It's not a great movie whatsoever, and it's a real disappointment on so many levels, but went on to become a big hit. Actually had a couple of remakes in other countries. There's a Hindu remake that came out 3 years later, and then there's one in Malaysia that came out in 2004, so I don't know. I guess it has an audience somewhere. I'm just not that audience, I guess, so anyway, that is French Kiss. Let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Mario Van Peebles' Panther.
In the opinion of Mr. Hoover, the Black Panther Party is public enemy number one.
Let me see that rifle, son.
This is my private property. According to California law, we got a constitutional right to bear arms.
Well, is it loaded?
I tell you, officer, it wasn't, but now it is.
The Defense Minister of the Black Panther Party, Huey Newton!
We know our war is here at home, against hard drugs in the community, against unemployment. That, brothers and sisters, is our war.
The Panthers are going to lose. The only question is, are you going to lose along with them?
And what do you want, man?
I want you to set the Panthers on flight for me, all right?
Final solution, you might say.
The pigs are gonna flood us with dope, man.
Stop pushing the poison in the neighborhood.
Panthers, y'all worse than the police.
No more words! No more words! No more sitting! No more praying, waiting for the pigs to kill us!
Are the Panthers storming the Capitol? Absolutely not. We're here to send a message to the racist California legislature for the state assembly. It's right up there on the second floor. All right, good man. All power to the people.
Black terrorists on the floor of the state capitol, I won't have it.
Are you proud of being a co-founder of the anti-white movement?
It's not anti-white. We're anti-oppression.
They say a Black Panther is born every minute in the ghetto.
Now we must reach out here. We got guns. It's time to use them.
All power to the people. All power to the people.
It only takes a single grain of sand to move the world.
But I would rather die at my feet and live on my knees.
So as you can see, this is the first narrative feature film to kind of talk about the Black Panther Party, and you would think that there'd be something here to it. You got Mario Van Peebles, who a few years prior to this broke out with New Jack City, and he did Posse, and then Melvin Van Peebles, he's been around for a long time, and a really strong cast that includes Kadeem Hardison, Courtney B. Vance, Bokeem Woodbine, Jodan Baker, M. Walsh, Chris Tucker, Chris Rock is also in here, as well as Angela Bassett and Jennifer Lewis and Bobby Brown. But honestly, there's an interesting story to be told in here, but this is not the movie that does it well. This is a movie that feels like it has a lot of ideas, it knows what it kind of wants to do, but it just can't get past that threshold to become a great movie. It just feels like a film that is trying way too hard to be an important movie. It's a film that's trying to be so important that it doesn't know how to put it past that second level, and the movie just kind of becomes stale pretty quickly. Like, you take these characters and stories that should be very interesting to do, but it just doesn't know what kind of a movie it wants to be. Like, what's the end result supposed to be when you come out of it? It's just like, it never really feels like it has the right idea of where it wants to go. Like, what's the next direction it wants to go to really move up to that next level, to be something on the level of something like a New Jack City, or even a Do the Right Thing, or Boys in the Hood. And it just feels like a movie that's just trying too hard to be relevant, but it doesn't have the right enough script to actually make this work. And I think it would take a long time for this to actually get a story that actually works better in a movie. I'm trying to remember, have they ever done a movie that has actually done this the right way? I'm thinking maybe Judas and the Black Messiah, but I'm not... Actually, I need to do some research on that. Actually, we just had two movies coming out within a year's time. That one I just mentioned, The Judas and the Black Messiah, which was a phenomenal movie, and then we also had Aaron Sorkin's The Trial of Chicago 7, which was one of my favorite movies from 2020. So there have been better movies with this storyline done better, and you would think with the Van Peebles name attached to it, you've seen them make great stuff before in the past. There just isn't enough there to really suggest that this movie should be as great as it should be. It's a film that comes so close to actually breaking the threshold to actually being something good, but it just can't do it. It just feels kind of like it's missing something. It's missing that spark to really make this a standout film. But I mean, as it is, it's just it's just a mostly forgettable film. Honestly, it's a film that I expected a lot more fun, but I don't know. If you want to see a better movie about the Black Panther Party, just watch The Trial of Chicago 7 or Judas and the Black Messiah. Those are the better films that actually do this a whole lot better. So that's just my thinking, at least. So, with that said, let us move on to the next movie, and that is My Family.
I remember my family. My father and my mother. My sister Tony. My brothers Choo-Choo and little Jimmy.
Mama!
My mother, she believed we all left something behind. She believed a piece of our spirit stayed behind and lived in all the empty chairs.
Francis Ford Coppola and New Line Cinema present the story of one American family and their epic journey through life.
I'm going to be a nun.
A nun?
A nun?
This girl says that you're her husband. Is that true? You think for 1 minute I want to spend all day pulling up weeds and mowing lawns? You got another thing coming.
Sometimes you don't get things back. When they go away forever.
I'm married. I left my order. And he left his order too.
He left his order?
He was a priest.
I go around this big city, but I'm alone. No one knows me. I know you, Isabel. God has been good to us. We've been very lucky. And our life, it has been very, very good.
My Family. Directed by Gregory Nava.
So you're basically following three generations of a Mexican-American family who emigrated from Mexico and settled into East Los Angeles. And there's a pretty good cast involved here. You see Jimmy Smits, Edward James Olmos, Isai Morales, Constance Maria, Jennifer Lopez is in there as well. And it's an okay movie. I'd say for a one-time watch, it's an okay film. I think the performances really do stand out very much on this. I feel like Francis Ford Coppola, who's the producer on this, wanted to make something for the for like a Mexican American equivalent to The Godfather, at least without something more of something like that, something on more of the lines of a family drama, not like on the same exact levels as The Godfather, but something on that sort of similar level. But I mean, yeah, I saw it. I thought it was just an okay movie. It is a nice little film. It does show about all these different situations that go on between these families and these generation of the family that's involved. Some good acting overall, but it's not something that's really going to stand out on any level, shape, or form. I thought it was alright. I think this director has made a whole lot better movies than this one. The next movie he would make was Selena, which stars Jennifer Lopez, who's actually in this movie. And then Why Do Fools Fall in Love? But, like I said, it's not a bad movie. It's actually a decent film, but it's not one that's going to warrant a whole lot of repeat viewing, at least in my opinion. But, I mean, I'm glad I saw it. It's not something I'd want to watch over and over again, but for a one-time watch, it's definitely worth it. So, anyway, let's move on to the last movie, and that is the documentary Black Is, Black Ain't.
To tell the truth, there's nothing better in this world than my Big Mama's gumbo.
I guess it's because it's got a little bit of everything in it.
Well, there goes the gumbo.
Everything that you can imagine can be put into gumbo. Shrimp, crayfish, sausage, alligator sausage, pork sausage, crab.
What does black mean? It seems very difficult to define in any absolute sense what it means to be black.
Seasoned just nicely. You don't want the broth to overpower the root. Cook it and it just has a nice sort of aromatic flavor with the spices.
The most definitive identity any black person has is blackness.
If it gets too thick, it's like you're tasting that, but you can't really get to the ingredients that make the gumbo.
There were as many kind of black people as there are black people to be. There's so many variations on the theme.
Cooks all night and all day. Ooh, it's wonderful. It's just inviting. You walk in, it's like, come on here to the kitchen.
So this is a documentary about black experiences with a backdrop of Creole cooking, such as gumbo. And that's pretty much everything I know about this, because I've honestly never heard of this movie, so I can't review too much of it because I haven't seen it. The director of this, Marlon Riggs, actually died before the film began production. I guess, I guess he died of AIDS in April, the previous April, before the film was even completed. So they had to get the producers to come in and finish making the film. So, not really much. I don't really know too much more about this one. It's basically kind of it's a documentary that's different from the usual documentary, mostly because of the fact that Riggs had AIDS, and it seemed like they were in a race against time to finish the film, struggling with his health and mortality. And there's interviews of him in the hospital, and even the opening scene is him in the woods, and that was like before his death. So in a way, I think that makes it more interesting to see this guy actually do something very different from the usual documentary. But other than that, that's pretty much all I know about this one. Like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it too much. But there you go. Black is Black Ain't. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time, we'll jump into May 12th with 6 movies, including Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington in Tony Scott's submarine thriller, Crimson Tide. We have Hugh Grant in The Englishman, who went up a hill but came down a mountain. We have the family film Gordy, which is interesting because it came out before Babe, even though some people would consider it a Babe knockoff. But we'll delve more into that next time. We also have the Perez family and A Little Princess, as well as Gumby the movie. So 6 movies to look at next time around, and we'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, as always, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.